Do you know what the white whale is?
I do know. However,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. Um, it's an expression based on the book Moby Dick, which I haven't read, but I'm aware of the expression, where the main character spends all of his time trying to bring down this elusive white whale. In marriage coaching, the white whale is teaching couples how to legitimately share the mental load. That's our white whale. Let's talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we show you how to find and build a healthy marriage as a Muslim. I'm Zahra Hassan.
And I'm AJ, and we've been married for 4 years.
And before we get started, so let's review the answers from our last quiz time. If you remember, the question is, how long should a talking stage last before you get married? Do you remember? Do you have an inkling to what it is?
Yeah.
How long?
However long you need to take.
That's actually a more correct answer than the one I'm going to give. But I always give a guideline of 3 to 6 months, right? Depending on how much vetting needs to be done in the given situation. If it needs to be longer, it needs to be longer. But on average, 3 to 6 months.
There is an exception.
Mm-hmm.
If the person that you're talking to is already a veterinarian, you can get married to them directly. They've already done all the vetting.
All right, because they're a vet. All right.
They've got years of vetting experience already.
Okay, so that was so funny. It just threw me off of everything else, but I like that.
And let's get started. By the way, also,
yeah,
I should mention,
yeah,
you can't use let's talk about it. A different podcast already has that.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's their famous catchphrase.
They're gonna have to share.
They're not gonna have to share.
They're not?
That is their thing.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that is their thing.
Okay. Okay, so we're just gonna let that go then. So with respect to the next question for the next quiz time, I always say that there are two things that you need in order to make a happy, healthy marriage. Two ingredients, right? Two main ingredients, where if one of these is missing, it's just not going to work. So what are those two ingredients? And we'll give the answer in the next one.
Let's talk about it.
I see what you did there. Let's get started.
Let's get started.
So this week's episode is entitled, I Carry the Mental Load Alone. Do you remember what the mental load is? It was the third episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you remember that episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's, again, one of the most important topics that comes up in everyone's marriage at some point. But do you remember what it is for the people who don't know what a mental load is?
Oh, it's been so long. I feel like it's got to do with taking care of the household, focusing on all the little things that have to go towards the care of the household.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty much what it is. It's the collective data that is necessary that in order to keep a household running.
Yeah. And
we call that the mental load. If only one person is aware of all of the data, like for example, what food is missing from the fridge or your pantry that needs to be shopped for, what's going to be dinner for dinner for the week, like all of the little data points that collectively together is called the mental load.
Yeah. All
right, so we have a question here coming from the Muslim Marriage subreddit by a sister who does a very good job of outlining how this issue tends to present. So let's take a look what she said. She says, Assalamu alaikum. This might sound petty or childish, but it has a big impact on me and my marriage, and I'd really appreciate outside perspective. Both my husband and I work. He's full-time, I'm part-time. We split the bills. I cover the council tax, electricity, groceries, my car, personal expenses, and most of the kids' needs, including outings, nursery consumables, clothes, whereas he pays for rent, Wi-Fi, and his own expenses. At home, I do all the cleaning, most of the childcare on my days off, and I used to do all the cooking until recently because it became overwhelming and it wasn't appreciated. He doesn't cook, ever, not even in emergencies, and doesn't clean unless I specifically ask, and even then, it's usually with reluctance. He does his own laundry when he gets around to it, and takes the bin out if I remind him. I pretty much carry the mental load. So I end up asking for help, asking for help and delegating if I don't become tired. When I do, he feels like I am bossy, or he'll start asking me to do things which naturally wouldn't be an issue. But because I do pretty much everything, when he asks, I can't also do what he's delegating for me to do as well. The one thing I've consistently asked of him is to at least clean up after himself. When I cook, I clean everything, and I just ask that he washes his own plate instead of leaving it on the side of the sink. This was agreed because when I had to cook and clean everything, I felt like a maid. And generally his mindset is that he's tired and that he works, so I should be supportive by taking care of the home. But I work too. He has a traditional mindset on selected things, so at times it feels like I'm battling his mindset. The problem is he doesn't follow through. He'll go through phases of leaving dirty dishes and constantly taking new ones out until literally nothing is left to clean. Recently, this went on for 4 weeks. I refuse to clean them anymore because when I do, he becomes complacent and just waits for me to cave, and this was the case previously. But when I don't clean, the kitchen becomes unusable. My mental state deteriorates, and eventually, he only does them because he's tired of takeout and wants me to cook again, not because he cares about me or the home, or because he's picking up a chore or something. I've told him that this makes me feel disrespected and disregarded, and that I feel like my efforts don't matter. His response is that if it really bothered me, I should have cleaned it. To him, me leaving it means that it can't be that serious, but he is missing the point, which is that where is the partnership? I try to understand more from his perspective if he thinks this is a way to live, in which he doesn't think anything is wrong here, and if he owes me an apology, and he did apologize, but it was more like pulling teeth because it didn't feel like he meant it. I know this is about dishes, but to me it's about respect, teamwork, and not being left in a trap where either I live in chaos or I clean up after him. Accepting him how he is will make me feel resentful because he isn't picking up his weight. I pay the bills without him needing me to remind me, and I hate that I need to ask that he does the basics. So am I being unreasonable for feeling disrespected and exhausted by this dynamic? What are your thoughts? I know this was a long question, but what are your thoughts?
Sounds very serious.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never thought that a man would much rather knowingly order takeout until he was tired of ordering takeout before he would clean the kitchen.
Yeah.
Just so that he can get his wife to cook for him.
Yeah.
Seems pretty heavy.
Yeah. So that's because I'm sure she tried that tactic that a lot of us try, both men and women, when we get very, because this question has come in at times from some of the couples where it's the man who's carrying the mental load for one reason or another. So this isn't specific to just women being the ones always carrying the mental load, but in marriages where it is uneven, it tends to present exactly this way.
Mm-hmm.
And with the other partner who's not carrying the mental load, they'll do things like that, where whether it's almost always about the dishes is usually the breaking point. And the tactic is because dishes are something that have to be cleaned out daily. With garbage is different.
Yeah.
You can usually take it out. You can wait a little bit, but dishes have to be done daily. So in almost every marriage where this is an issue, the partner who's carrying the mental load will try this exact tactic. Well, they'll say, I'm just not gonna clean the dishes anymore until you clean the dishes, because their intention is for them to see how hard it is, and then hopefully they'll have a new appreciation for the work that this other person has been doing. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And honestly, I've never seen it work. I've never seen that work. So for anyone who's in this situation, who's considering using this tactic, if it works for you, then that's wonderful. But I've never seen it work personally for anybody. So in general, overall, so let's say that this couple came to you and asked you for advice. How would you approach them? How would you advise them?
Oh my God. Oh, difficult.
Yeah,
Because it seems like the man doesn't respect her in any
exactly.
capacity. Because that was, I mean, legitimately, I would say
Mm-hmm.
that line seemed like it was out of a movie or a TV show,
Yeah.
right? Where she complained to him
Mm-hmm.
about the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
the state of the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Well, if you didn't like it, why didn't you just clean it?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Made it seem like it must not have been that bad if she didn't get to cleaning it, and that's like comparable in my eyes
Mm-hmm.
to taking like a hot plate or an iron
Mm-hmm.
and pressing it against someone's skin
Yeah.
and then being like, well, you're not moving, so
It must not hurt.
it must not be that bad,
It must
right?
not hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, why are you doing that in the first place, dude? Hello?
So you think that he just doesn't care?
It seems like he doesn't care at all.
That's the conclusion she's come to as well, and that's the conclusion that most people come to. I have found that quite often the issue is not so much about caring; it's a lack of information. I know it seems wild
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure she has explained to him the situation up, down, left, and right, but he doesn't have the right. He has information, but it's not the right information. So, with respect to addressing the mental load, the key to addressing the mental load is by speaking, by going through the 5 steps of discussion that we always go through. It sounds like she's gone through it, but I don't think that she has sufficiently conveyed to him how it makes her feel. Like at one point, she specifically told us, I've told him that this makes me feel disrespected and disregarded, and that I feel like my efforts don't matter. The words are there, but they're not landing. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? They're not landing in one way or another. That's what I'm going to assume. That's what I assume for every couple until I have information that otherwise is true. Sometimes during the coaching, I'll come to a conclusion that, oh no, this person actually doesn't care, and that's a whole different situation. But that's in the minority of cases. In the majority of cases, the issue is that they don't have the right information.
Yeah.
That it hasn't landed to him. Hasn't landed with him how disrespected it makes her feel. Like, what does that mean? Um, do you so how do you suppose would she be able to convey it to him how disrespected it makes her feel? Like if you and I were in a situation and I had done something or I had not done something to make you feel disrespected, and you said the words and you can just see it in my eyes and in my action that it's not landing with the impact that it should, given that proportional to how it makes you feel. How
Mm-hmm.
would you be able to make that land and say,
For guys, the answer is different.
yeah,
Um, the answer is much different for guys than it is for girls on how you can get your spouse to see
mm-hmm.
that you're hurt, right?
How would it be?
Because for the man,
Mm-hmm.
um, they might get arrogant about it
Mm-hmm.
if a woman tries to explain that they're disrespected,
Mm-hmm.
right? The man might get standoffish.
Yeah.
Um, but the woman might not, because they're not in a position to prevent any physical harm
Yeah.
if it goes down that road, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like for women, they're always trying to not only balance their own emotions, but balance the emotions of the other person
Yeah.
so that things don't escalate. Even in the situation where they're the ones that are in pain and they're the ones that need to lash out, they have to also be mindful of repercussions or like hurt back or blowback or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
But for men, they typically don't think about that. Just like when you're walking down the street
Yeah.
at nights, men don't usually think about, oh, there's a person walking behind me,
Yeah.
right? But women might always be thinking about that. So
Yeah.
the answer is different.
So how would you express to me? How would you let me know that, like, I'm very hurt by this?
Well, the way I have been doing,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I'm hurt by something, is I withdraw.
Yeah.
I get silent. But you're very perceptive, and you usually approach me,
Yeah. And
and then we have a nice civil conversation about it.
so that is one way.
Usually ends up with me crying.
Or me crying.
Yeah.
Or both, right? But that's what marriage is, right? But
That's in a functional relationship.
in a functional relationship,
Yeah.
right? But so I wouldn't recommend that. I wouldn't say withdraw, because you would need somebody who is equipped to be able to have the conversation in that state. So instead what I would recommend that she do is during that sit down conversation, as to let him know that, look, this is, to use the word hurt, like, I'm very hurt, this is very painful for me, and in order to help him understand, analogies work really well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Analogies are very, very helpful. So in this case, and I don't know anything about this couple, but I'm just giving it a wild example, where she could say, this would be as if that we were in public, if you and I were in public in front of your family, and I had sworn at you, or I had, said something really bad about you to them while you were there listening. And how would you feel? And they would say, I feel disrespected. That's what it feels like for me. It feels like for me that my feelings don't matter. They're not a part of your equation.
Yeah.
That everything else is a part of the equation, but whether or not it's true, right? But I'm telling you, that's how it feels for me. So analogies are helpful in order to help the other person understand your experience, if the words by themselves are not landing.
Yeah, quite powerful.
Yeah. And it's going to require a lot of vulnerability, right? If you get to the point of tears, not in a manipulative sense, but it's important that this person understands in as articulate and as clear a way as possible that this isn't about the dishes. It really isn't about the dishes. It isn't about the cooking. It isn't about the childcare. It isn't about any of these things. It's about the fact that you think that I'm small. And for me to be seen as so small by the person I care about the most, I end up starting to believe it,
Mm-hmm.
that I am small, right? And even worse than that is I start to get angry and start to resent the person who's making me feel so small.
Yeah.
Right? And especially when I'm working so hard to not make you feel that way. It's not fair. So just to try to articulate in as accurate and as it takes creativity, honestly, in as a creative way as possible, how you feel. This might mean that you have to, like, in fact, this is the hardest step. When you're sitting down and having a discussion with your spouse, the hardest step is articulating your experience so that this person understands. And you'll be able to know that it's landed, that the information has landed based on their reaction. And also that's why the next step in the discussion after you explain your experience is, what do you think about that? Like, did that make sense?
Yeah.
So that you'll know right away whether it's landed, because of the fact. Because let me just reread this, right? Where she said, I've told him that this makes me feel disrespected and disregarded, and that I feel like my efforts don't matter. His response is, right? His response is that if it really bothered me, I should have cleaned it. his response is outlining that he thinks it's about the dishes. Does that make sense? That's why I think he doesn't have the right information, or he doesn't understand that it's not about the dishes. It's never about the dishes. Whereas, if we go back to that example of her hypothetically saying, a disparaging comment, or saying something bad to him in front of family members, and she said to him, well, I don't think it was that big a deal. You are gaining weight, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't think it's that big a deal. You did, your boss did say that about you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We had that conversation. His reaction would be, it's not about that. It's not about me gaining weight. It's not about what my boss said. It's about the fact that you are projecting something negative in front of my family.
Yeah,
right? So exactly.
It's the idea that she doxed him.
Exactly. So it's in that same way that he would be frustrated about her idea that it's just about the words rather than about the entire situation. She is equally frustrated that he thinks it's just about the dishes when there's so much more at stake, right?
Yeah.
So this is why the mental load conversation is the most common one that we have in marriage coaching, and rightfully so, especially with 2025 being the way it is that almost every household is a 2-income household, and that changes like on this scale in society. Culture is very slow to catch up with it. So all the people who have the traditional mindsets of this is women's work, this is men's work, right? I'm a man, I went to work, and therefore I need this time to decompress and relax, which is valid. But that mindset is slow to catch up with the reality that your wife was also working the same number of hours.
Yeah.
And then she also needs to decompress.
I think personally, that aspect of culture should not catch up, but rather we should regress to meet that culture again, because right now we're being exploited.
Yeah, I understand, but the reality is it's probably not going to happen because we're not the ones who are calling the shots, right?
Yeah.
Ideally, that would be the situation, but that's not the situation. Marriages are ending because of this situation, because of this reality.
Yeah.
So it's important to learn how to have this conversation about the mental load. This is one of the most important conversations you're going to have, especially early on in your marriage, because this is the most common reasons for resentment to set in, and this ends marriages.
Well, we may not be able to effectuate a call to action to right the wrongs of others. We do have the ability to call to action our audience. If you like our videos, please comment and subscribe. Ask your questions below or on our website, ZahraHassanCoaching.com. You may feature in one of our future episodes with your permission.
Once again, you're gotten very, very good at those. But just as a review for what exactly are the 5 steps of discussion, because I know I mentioned that as if everyone knows what they are, simply because we talk about it so much. If you are looking for a piece of paper that I've literally written out the 5 steps of discussion, you can get that in a free PDF. I think it's only 2 pages that you can just print out and put in your safe space to jog your memory when you're having these discussions. You can get a link to that in the description below. But just as a reminder, the 5 steps of discussion. Step 1 is to validate your partner's experience. So when you're first sitting down to have that mental load conversation, is to try to do your best to articulate your understanding of their experience in order to diffuse the situation and help them be open enough and trusting enough to hear you. Right, to hear you, because whenever there is tension in the situation, or even if there isn't tension, there's old core wounds. There's all of this baggage in each individual's mind that sort of fogs up their ability to hear you. So in order to clear that fog, step 1 is always to validate your partner's experience, and then see if you got that right. Right, so you always check in, like, did I get that right? Step 2 is to articulate your own experience. This is the one that's the hardest step. This is the one that you might have to go do a lot of introspection to try to get to the bedrock of why this bothers you. And once you know what it is that bothers you, in this case, it's feeling disrespected, try to have write down ways of how you can help them understand how it feels, right? So like if you were writing a screenplay for a movie, for example, and you were trying to get this person or the audience to experience an emotion, right? So you really want them to understand how it feels. And again, after you've articulated that to the best of your ability and it's still not landing, analogies are very good. Analogies are very helpful. Step 3 is to check in, see if they understood. Once you've explained your experience, like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
See, and then see if their understanding matches up. And in the question itself, we can see that his understanding does not match up with what she said. That's why I think this is an issue of disinformation, right? Or misinformation. And then step 4 is to state your need. So in this case, her need would be, I need for you to take your share of the things that keep the household running. Just like I took my share of the finances off of your shoulders so that we still have a home and that things are still paid for. I'm going to need you to help me by not even help me. I'm going to need you to take a share of the rest of the things.
Yeah.
Right? So that it's a more equal burden.
Yeah.
Right? So to state your need. And the more specific you are, the better. Right? Because things that are specific are easy to follow up with.
I mean, just that alone should be compelling enough for him as a Muslim, right? Because with your wife taking over and helping with the finances, it is a burden on most men.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a burden that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala... See, the responsibilities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that gave us as a husband or as a wife, these are opportunities. These are opportunities for us to follow through and please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if there's a responsibility of finances that are very, very stressful, but it's an opportunity to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, look, I'm doing everything that I can to make it happen.
Yeah.
And if your wife is able to help you with that and remove some of that to help you succeed, that's wonderful. It's a good idea to try to help her with her responsibilities.
Yeah.
All right?
I think... like for me, you have a job as well.
Alhamdulillah,
right?
Yeah.
Because we need that to take care of our
Everything.
family.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
And I do see you having a job as a burden, right?
I know.
And I want to eventually, inshallah, get to a position where you don't need to have a job.
In Shaa Allah.
But that's very difficult
Yeah.
in the Western world because of the way that they run things.
Of the things that are set up.
Oh yeah, the way that somehow they've managed to get people to vote and accept this.
Yeah.
Successfully, they've managed to double the workforce and have the rewards of labor.
Alhamdulillah.
So they're paying the same amount.
All that helps me to understand things is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees all of it. And all of it has an appointed time. And our only job is to do the best that we can given the circumstances, right? So, and focus on the things that we are going to be asked about as individuals. So if your wife is helping you with some of the burden, it's a good idea. It's a good idea, right? To take this as an opportunity to help your wife with the burden.
Yeah.
Not only in order to protect your marriage, and even more importantly, to protect her well-being, because imagine how stressful that is, right?
Yeah.
Just to empathize as a human being, how stressful it is to do all of this and also all of this. Like it's the equivalent of you taking on 2 jobs, right?
For those of you who inexplicably and without any reason don't care about the well-being of your wife.
Yeah.
If you guys are narcissists, understand that Allah is going to ask you.
Yeah.
Right? So help her with the housework and the homework and everything of that nature, just so that you at the very least have a defense.
Yeah, on that day.
Yeah, if you only care about yourself. help her so you can say, okay, so I wasn't able to prevent her from working because we didn't have that ability financially.
Yeah.
But I recovered and recouped in this manner.
Yeah.
But if you act like her doing all the housework is her responsibility,
Yeah.
and you're also having her work to cover for your responsibility,
Yeah.
that's a one-sided trade.
That's a scary position to be in on that day.
Yeah.
Yep. So step 4 was to state your need, where you describe, again, the more specific this is, the better it is. And then step 5 again is to check in to see whether or not your husband understood or your wife understood what it is that your need is, what they're asking you to do, what you're asking them to do. So those are the 5 steps, right? Again, the PDF of that 5 steps, because I know a lot of people are just listening and not listening in on the podcast. So the PDF of the 5 steps is going to be available in the description below, just for you to download and have on hand. But that's how you deal with the mental load. If you find yourself having this conversation 2 times, 3 times, which is normal. Like you and I have been married for 4 months, and from time to time, at least maybe once a year, a couple times a year, we revisit this conversation, right? Because the longer that you're married, responsibilities change, and you're not going to have to reshift who does what.
Yeah.
So you're going to have this conversation at least a good 3-4 times in the very beginning to establish things. And if you find that even after that, things still aren't really changing, or the language is not really landing with your spouse, then that's when you start looking for help.
Yeah.
Professional help, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a coach, whether it's a counselor. So, again, this is probably the most common issue that I help spouses with. So if you don't have access to a local therapist or a local counselor, go see your imam, right? This is something that imams can help with a lot of the time, not all of the time, but a lot of the time they can help with this. If all of that is not available, you can always go to www.zarahassancoaching.com/marriage coaching. You go to the marriage coaching section, and you click on monthly marriage coaching, and it'll take you to a link where you can have a free consultation. In Shaa Allah, a free 30-minute consultation where hopefully I'll be able to give you some pointers. One
pointer that I have, by the way, do you know what PDF stands for?
I don't know, actually.
It stands for Public Displays of Facts.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Does it really?
Specifically, the facts that you have in your PDF.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Does it really, though?
It doesn't.
Oh, okay. It was like, I don't remember. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's, I like that. That's one good way. Or to make things easier, I'll just put the direct link in the description below for where you can set up that free consultation. If you do decide to come for the free consultation, many women choose to come see me on their own first, right? That's fine. That's perfectly fine. And if you decide that it would be helpful to come back and see me with your husband, I usually offer that second consultation as a couple also for free. You can, where you're using the same link to book both. So hopefully that's helpful, because I know how stressful this can be. If you're in this situation, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you, and hopefully something that we've said has been helpful. So that is it for the mental load part 2, right? Our first episode we covered was in episode 3 over a year ago, but I thought it would be a good idea to cover this a second time based on how pervasive an issue it is in our community. So I think we've answered her questions. Is there anything that we're missing? A question that we might come up that we probably haven't covered, we should probably cover, is how is it that you and I handle the mental load in our marriage?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, just for
at a different day.
On a different day? I think we should cover it for maybe a couple of minutes. So so like I said, the division of labor changes throughout the years, and we revisit it over and over throughout the years. But what we have found that works for us, that works for you and I, because of my type of personality.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been this way my entire life. Even when I lived at home with my mother and sister and my family, that if they clean something, I don't like the way that other people clean.
Yeah,
So
it's never enough.
yeah,
It's never good enough.
Yeah, so I usually go in and then I clean up after them, right?
Yeah.
And as the years progress, I just get more and more comfortable at letting some of those things go, and they come onto your plate.
Yeah.
But in general, the cleaning is me. The cooking we share.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some days it's you, some days it's me. The things that are the way we divide it is, if anything is inside the home, mostly I take care of it. And if anything is outside the home, you deal with it. You take care
like
of
the
it.
yard work, fixing things,
shoveling snow.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah. So if it's outside, because I can't be bothered. So that's the general division of labor that we have, and over the years, it shifts back and forth.
Yeah.
But that's how we do it. Alhamdulillah. And it took a little bit of time to get to that point and to find that balance, and it will take you time. Right? It will take a few conversations, but try to remember that the most common issue at hand is lack of the right information.
Communication.
Yeah, but lack of the right information.
Communication.
Yes. If it feels like your spouse really just doesn't care, right? There's a good chance that they don't know. Yeah. It's not that they don't care, they don't know. Yeah. And hopefully that's the case. If that's the case, that's fixable.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a good idea to try to assume that that's the case and work on that. If you can't fix it on your own, try to find local resources. If you can't find local resources, click on the link in the description below. Insha Allah.
I have an example for the lack of information.
Yeah.
Right. Right now we're all just chill and we're all just casual, and we don't really understand how our body feels.
Yeah.
Right. But if I remind you that you typically breathe automatically. Yeah. And that sometimes you'll have to manually breathe. Yeah. Some people are now angry at me.
Why?
I remind them that their tongue is not sitting comfortably inside their mouth right now. Some people will get... So information does have an effect on people's mindset.
That is true.
Right? That's true. Now that you guys understand that you're also blinking manually. Okay. Right? You're angry.
And unnerved, I think, is probably a little bit more, just creating more tension.
See that information? Yeah. When you guys get that information, you guys start feeling stronger emotions. Yeah. Yeah. You understand now how speaking to your partner and giving them the correct information. Yeah. Will put you in a different mindset to understand them better.
Yeah, exactly. So it's about lack of information, right? Yeah. Or at least the right kind of information. So In Shaa Allah, hopefully that was clear. I don't want to keep people here longer than they normally do. So if you've made it this far into the podcast, Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. We really appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us. That always means everything. If you haven't already, be sure to download your free copy of the conflict resolution table with the 5 steps of discussion. I'll also include your free copy of Healthy Habits Marriage Guide that will, inshallah, give you some real tangible ways to encourage closeness in your marriage. And finally, a direct link where you can book that free consultation if you feel like that would be the next step for you. So I think that's everything. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. It really means a lot. If you have subscribed, Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. That means even more. We wish you a wonderful weekend, and assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.